أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد
واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين. Section number 35. As we learned already that Surah al-Fateha is called Kitab, Quran. 36? Thank you. Which means the mother of the book, mother of the Quran. And this name refers to the fact that Fatiha, so the Fatiha is the summary of the entire Quran. So when we say it's the summary of all the ma'arif, in Islamic concepts, all the Islamic concepts and are engulfed by Surah al-Fatiha. It comprises of all those concepts and teachings mentioned in the Quran are there in Fatiha. The Fatiha serves as a summary for that. So today in the class I would like to talk about that discussion. So the ma'arif and the concepts mentioned inside the Holy Quran are categorized into several classifications by different mufassirin, different interpreters of Quran. One classification, which is a famous one, says that Quran the concepts of Islam are divided into three fundamental concepts, which are first one is about the oneness of Allah, which includes His Tawheed al-Zat, oneness regarding His essence. The second is oneness regarding His attributes, Tawheed al-Sifat. The third concept of oneness is about oneness regarding His af'al, means actions. So, and the fourth concept of oneness is about Tawheed al-Ibadah, Tawheed and oneness concept of the worship. So these are four onenesses that are included in the oneness of Allah. When we say we believe in the oneness of Allah, it means we believe in the oneness of His essence, Tawheed al-Zat, oneness of His attributes, Tawheed al-Sifat, oneness of His actions, Tawheed al-Af'al. He's the only one, La mu'assira fil wujud illallah. He's the only one who influences. He is the sole influencer behind all the actions. It's His power and influence that is actually working. No one else influence and power. And oneness in worship, that means He is the only one who is supposed to be worshipped, and we are required to worship. That's the fundamental concept number one. The fundamental concept number two of Islam is about, let me first mention the, um, yeah, okay, that's okay. So about the day of return, day of judgment, which in Arabic we call it Ma'ad. The concept of the day of return, day of judgment, day of resurrection. That's the second fundamental concept of Islam. And the third fundamental concept of Islam is the connection and the guidance. Connection between these two. Connection means connection between the Creator, who is one, and the day of return. So we, the creatures, need to have a connection between the Creator. How we can connect between Creator and the day of return. So when there is a day of return where we are held accountable, and there is a Creator who created us for a reason, for a purpose, then we need to have a connection with the Creator so that we can secure our day of return. And for that connection with the Creator, in order to secure our success in the day of return, we need the guidance. So this is the concept, which is what we call, this is how we call it, the concept of Risalat, messengership. So we need prophets of God, messengers, and after the messenger would die, there will be obviously imamat. His deputy is to continue the same message. Without being a prophet, they are imams, they are deputies, they will continue the same message with the same strength. So the concept of messengership, risalat, and the concept of imamat, the deputies of the messenger comes in. So they serve as a connection. They are the ones who connect us with Allah, the one God. They connect us with Allah and provide us the guidance from God so we can secure our success in the day of judgment. This is the summary of all the fundamental concepts of Islam are three. So this is one categorization of Islamic concepts. Let's move to, so this is, let me write 01. Second categorization of Islamic concept is like this. So obviously Surah al-Fateha consists of all these three. And the second categorization is like this, that so and if you look at some of the narrations, it talks about that Surah al-Fatiha contains tahmeed and ikhlas and dua. It also talks about three concepts included in Surah al-Fatiha. What are those three? According to certain narrations, those three are, number one, at-tahmeed, means praising Allah. Fatiha teaches us, and it's talking about, and it's teaching us the way of praising Allah. So that's the first concept mentioned in Quran, and the second in Fatiha. The second concept mentioned in Fatiha is ikhlas. Mean sincerity towards Allah only. So we do everything for His sake. And dua means the prayers. So it's towards Allah that we are supposed to pray and seek our needs being fulfilled by turning towards Allah only. Let's go to the hadith that talks about that. As-surah allati awwaluha tahmeed. I write the hadith here. As-surah allati أولها التحميد أولها تحميد. That surah which beginning of that is praising. وأوسطها إخلاص. وأوسطها إخلاص, and its middle is sincerity. وآخرها دعاء. وآخرها دعاء. Surah al-Hamd. The hadith teaches us that surah in which the beginning is praising of Allah, the middle of the surah is ikhlas, teaching us how to be sincere towards Allah only, and the end of the surah is dua, seeking prayers towards Allah. That's Surah al-Hamd. So this is another way of classifying the ma'arif and concepts found in Surah al-Fateha are classified into these three categories. That's another way, second way of classification. So let's go to the third way. There are several ways how its concepts and teachings are classified.
What's the difference between 01 and 02?
Well, there is a big difference because 01 and 02 is this is related to the Islamic belief system. Tahmid is a praise, right? So this is our belief. So we have to believe in the oneness of Allah in all of its four types of onenesses that we have to believe, and we have to believe in the day of return. So these are related to the everyday jobs that we do. Every day we are supposed to praise Allah, and everything we do in our everyday life should be sincerely only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek our praise only from Him. So these are actions that we do in our everyday life, but these are beliefs. That these three things are related to the human actions in everyday life. These three are related to the Islamic beliefs. Islamic beliefs are actually three. Usuluddin, roots of the religion, how we call in Arabic, are actually three. So we, Isna Ashari Shias of Ahlul Bayt, we believe the Usuluddin are five. But in the real sense, Usuluddin are three only. So how we say three only? Because the other two that we say that, how do we count five? Tawheed, oneness of Allah, Adl, justice of God, Nabuwah means prophethood, Imamat means imams, belief in the imams, and Al-Ma'ad and Qiyamah, day of judgment. So these are how we count five. So what are the two extra that I didn't mention? Adl, justice of God, and Imamat. So Adl is included in that, in Tawheed. When you say oneness of God, it includes all the attributes of Allah. Allah is just. Justice is one of His attributes. So when we say Adl, we single out Adl and mention it separately as one of the fundamental beliefs of our faith. This is done for a certain reason, we did that. Otherwise, fundamental beliefs of Islam are actually three. That's true, because Adl is one of the attributes, and all the attributes are included in the concept of oneness already. So again, now, and another thing that we singled out was Imamat, to make it five, make the fundamental beliefs five. But Imamat is nothing but the extension of Risalat. Imam is an extension of the concept of Risalat. Imam is not a Rasul, but the concept of Risalat as a whole includes the concept of Imamat, because every Rasul has to live for a certain limited period of time. No one is going to live on earth for endless times. So obviously he is going to die. So he is going to die. For every prophet there has to be at least one deputy, whom we call the Imam. For our prophet we have 12 deputies who are the greatest. So there are 12 Imams. So that's actually included in the greater concept of messengership and Risalat. So Imamat is included. It's part of the package. Because Prophet will die, and after him there has to be an Imam to continue his message without being a messenger, without being a prophet, but he continues the same message. He serves as a deputy and the Imam. So that's included. Imamat is included in the package of Risalat. As Adl and justice of God was included in the
when we say we believe in the oneness of the attributes of Allah, Adl is one of those attributes. So actually the fundamental beliefs are three. These are things which are related to our practical lives. These are things related to our beliefs. If you take a picture, I'll go to the second and third categorization, classification of the concepts of ma'arif.
Oh, so that's what I'm asking. So basically, it's basically a list of the ma'arif.
That are found in the Surah al-Fateha. So several scholars have given their viewpoints that Surah al-Fatiha, when we say, is the summary of Quran, and it includes all the ma'arif, the in-depth concepts of the Holy Quran. How do you summarize those concepts being included in Fatiha? The way they summarize, some scholars say Fatiha is the summary of entire Quran because Fatiha includes these three concepts. Some scholars say Fatiha is the summary of the entire Quran because Fatiha includes these three concepts, which is actually based on this hadith that they are saying that. But they are different views presented by different scholars of Tafseer. So this hadith, let me also write down the reference before you take a picture. Tafseer Ayyashi 119. This hadith which I wrote is from Tafseer al-Ayyashi, volume 1, page 19. And now let's go to the third classification of the concepts found in Surah al-Fatiha, which is presented by Sheikh al-Bahai rahmatullah alayhi. Should I erase it?
Yes.
The third classification is presented by Sheikh al-Bahai. Sheikh al-Bahai is Ayatollah al-Ummah Sheikh Bahauddin al-Amili. That's his name, from Lebanon. Great mujtahid, great services, great books written by him. Some of his books are part of our syllabus in the Hausa for after centuries. He's one of those great scholars whose book are part of the syllabus. So he's a uniquely great scholar with his own specific attributes of uniqueness. So this great scholar mentions that Surah al-Fatiha comprises, so this is the third category classification of the concepts found in Surah al-Fatiha. That's the third view available. So Sheikh al-Bahai, Ayatollah Sheikh this is not Sheikh the Baha'i who relates to the Baha'i religion available today, created by the British colonialists to damage the community of Iran, and the Wahhabism created in Hijaz to damage that community, and the Qadiani Ahmadi religion created by the British colonialists inside United India to damage that community. That Baha'i existed and still exists. So it's created by the British, and according to their belief system, their headquarters of the religion has to be necessarily located in Tel Aviv, always. So I'm not talking about that guy who was serving for the British Crown, Baha'u'llah, in whose name the religion Baha'ism still exists today. We are talking about Sheikh al-Bahai, our great mujtahid in the history from Lebanon. So he says that Surah al-Fatiha, that's the third classification. Surah al-Fatiha comprises of 4 types of hamd, praise of Allah. And that's a very scholarly point that he has mentioned. The first type is Hamdul Muhibbin, the praise done by lovers of Allah. So those who love Allah, how do they praise Allah? Praise performed by the lovers of Allah. It's called Hamdul Muhibbin. Where in Fatiha Allah is teaching us the way of praising Him according to how the lovers of Allah praise. He says that Hamd al-Zat, praising the essence of God. Praising the essence. It's called Hamd al-Zat. Praising the essence of God means that we consider Allah worthy of the praise. And where in Fatiha we have been taught about praising the essence of God, which reveals we consider His essence to be worthy to be praised at all times, in all situations, absolutely, in its absolute sense. No matter what happens around us, in our lives around us, in all situations, the praise continues, shall continue, because His essence is worthy of the praise in all situations, no matter what. Where do we learn that? Shaykh Bahai says this is what we learn from the word Alhamdulillah. This much only. Don't connect with what is forward. Only this much. Alhamdulillah. This segment, Shaykh al-Bahai says, teaches us Hamd al-Zat of Allah. That He's worthy of the praise no matter what, in all situations. Then he says Surah al-Fateha teaches us Hamd al-Shakirin. Praise of the grateful. Those people who are grateful towards Allah and want to be grateful towards Allah, they also deserve to praise God. Everyone who feels that we are grateful towards Allah obviously should praise Allah. So in order to be performing the praise of being grateful towards Allah, this happens when you find yourself in the presence of al-rububiyyah al-mutlaqa. Al-rububiyyah al-mutlaqa means absolute lordship of Allah. When you find yourself in the presence of His absolute lordship, so Allah is the absolute Lord of everything that exists. and He's the one who's providing the upbringing, tarbiyat, the Islamic upbringing of everything. Upbringing of everything is done by the Lord. Lord is upbringing everything. And when you find yourself in the presence of the absolute Lord, who is doing lordship towards everything, including yourself, this is where, when you find yourself in the presence of the Rububiyatul Mutlaqa, and how He's favoring you by upbringing you, you feel obliged to be grateful towards Him for what He's doing and praise Him for that. And this is where you will end up saying, Rabbil Alameen. So Rabbil Alameen, Shaykh al-Bahai says, is this word teaches us how to praise Allah, praise of those who feel grateful towards Him. This is a very scholarly point. That Rabbil Alameen is indicator towards the praise that a believer is doing by feeling himself in the presence of the absolute lordship of Allah and receiving the favors from Him. So he feel obliged to thank Him and be grateful towards Him, and for that he says Rabbil Alameen. So this is the praise of the grateful people. The third type of praise found in the Holy Quran is Hamdut Tujjar, praise of the traders. What do the traders do? They sell things, products, and get the money in return. So you give and you take. So there's a give and take taking place. There's a transaction taking place. You're giving certain things, you're receiving certain things. There's a transaction. Just like in a trade, there is a transaction. So where is the transaction style of praise? This is Shaykh al-Bahai rahmatullahi alayhi says that the praise of Allah which happens, the praise which is happening due to the fact that we attach hope towards Allah and we have greed towards Allah and we have eagerness. Raja and tama and ishtiyaq. Shauq, ishtiyaq. Eagerness towards the rewards that Allah has prepared for us. So, because we have hope and we have greed and we have eagerness towards the rewards that Allah has prepared for us, in order to get those, we praise Allah. And that is learned from, Shaykh al-Bahai says, from the words, these words of Surah al-Fateha, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. This is the praise of the traders, because you are getting something from Allah, and then you are praising Him because you are receiving some things. Because you are receiving certain things, you are praising Him. Because you realize He is Rahman. Remember, we studied Rahman, the mercy, that Rahman refers to that mercy of Allah which is all inclusive to mu'mins and kafirs, believers and disbelievers. Allah provides risk and sustenance to everyone. So that specific mercy, which is all inclusive to hypocrites, to atheists, to agnostics, to disbelievers, to believers, to Muslims, non-Muslims, everyone received that category of the mercy of Allah. And because from that perspective, Allah is called Ar-Rahman. And Ar-Rahim refers to that mercy of Allah which He provides to the believers only, which is a specific mercy, not an all-inclusive mercy. This is all-inclusive mercy. This is a specific mercy in Ar-Rahim. So obviously He's providing sustenance, He's providing rest, He's giving so many blessings, and He's giving the general blessings. He's giving us the sustenance. He's giving us the specific blessings that Allah is providing only to the mu'min people, and we have our hope attached to that. We have our greed towards that, and we have eagerness towards receiving the rewards of Allah. And because of that concept in our minds, when we are receiving things constantly, and we in return would praise Allah, and that praise is like a transaction. So we are receiving, and we realize that we need to get something, we are getting something, we want to give something, so we praise Allah based on that exchange. So this is a praise of the traders, which is learned in these two words, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim of Surah al-Fateha, are indicators towards the praise of the traders. That's the third category of praise mentioned in Surah al-Fatiha. And the fourth and the last category of praise, Shaykh al-Bahai says, the fourth category of praise mentioned in Surah al-Fatiha is the praise of the slaves. So, Hamdul Abid. Abid means the slaves. So, praise of the slaves. Well, what is the status of the slaves? Slaves are afraid from their masters, and they obey the masters because they are afraid from them. If they don't obey, masters are going to punish them for disobedience. So this is how the slaves used to be, and even today we have worse forms of slavery existing in this world, and that slavery also is actually the same phenomenon. So fear factor comes in, fear of getting punished. So there are some people who praise Allah because they are afraid of if they don't, Allah will punish them. And that is the kind of praise of the slaves, which is what we learn in the light of Shaykh Bahai says, in the light of the verse Maliki Yawmiddin of Surah al-Fatiha. He is the owner of the Day of Judgment. So there is a Day of Judgment where we are held accountable. Everyone will be held accountable for what he believed and did, what he believed, kind of belief system, right or wrong, or actions, right or wrong. Allah is the Malik and owner of the Day of Judgment. Malik Yawmiddin, the owner of the Day of Judgment. So, owner of the Day of, when you realize, oh, there's a Day of Judgment and He's the owner, oh, so I cannot just run away with anything, whatever I wish to do and escape. I am going to be held accountable at the end of the day. And there is a punishment system available where we will get punished. When that realization comes in, when you recite Malik Yawmiddin, and this shows that you are realizing about the existence of Day of Judgment, and there is God who is the owner of that Day of Judgment, which is going to hold us accountable for our beliefs and actions. So obviously this Malik Yawmiddin is an indicator of a level of praise a person is performing. But this level of praise indicated through the verse Malik Yawmiddin is the level of praise of the slaves, because this is due to the realization of existence of a Day of Judgment where punishment will happen. So that's the fourth category of praise present in the Holy Quran. So this is the reference of that. Let me give you the reference. This is mentioned in Miftah al-Falah 762. Reference of the statement of Sheikh Ayatollah Sheikh Baha'i. Miftah al-Falah 762, page 762. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى